Pickard has started 14 games this season, has 10 wins.
They've won 6 of his last 7. And I do think, like, I don't even mean this to be like disrespectful or whatever, but like a Calvin Pickard start is 1 goal that leaves you going, stop the puck, man. 1 goal that leaves you going, then they usually beat him clean once, but then the Oilers win 4-3. And it's like, okay, so are you upset with your backup goalie giving up 3 goals on 25 shots when, again, you can look at Chicago, you can look at the San Jose game, you can look at the Seattle game. He gives them up early, and then he just stops them in the final 30 minutes of the game, and that's valuable.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, too, guys, as we know, this team, it's weird. Sometimes, I don't want to say frustrated, but there is some frustration there that happens sometimes when they'll come out and dominate a team and the puck just doesn't go in the net. They get goalied a lot. We were having this discussion the other night, and it's a hard stat to try and figure out, but I don't know if I know a team that's as highly talented as Edmonton that gets goalied more often than they do. Goalie, it's unbelievable. Some kid goes in there in his 5th, 6th game and he stands on his head. They got to throw the kitchen sink at him to get a goal by Askarov, that game. I mean, they finally broke him down, but I mean, it took them the entire game to break him down. It's just, wow, these guys are having performances. So like players, I think goaltenders come in and look at that lineup and go, I better have a pretty good game today, or I'm going to let in 7 or 8. And they get fired up. They get fired up to play. I think sometimes, though, when the puck doesn't go in the net early for this team, and it happened years ago, they've gone really, really good at not doing it as much anymore. There's a little bit of frustration, a little bit of a letdown. And that little tiny bit of a letdown allows the other team to come back and have some good chances. And it's usually a really good one, or one that you wouldn't normally expect if you're dialed in. I mean, look at the Pittsburgh game. It's like, you know what? They're going, and there should have been 1-0 35 seconds into the game. It just rolls off the end of Brown's stick on a beautiful pass from Bouchard. You're like, that's got to be in the net. Like, that's 1-0 right there. That's a great start. Draisaitl line comes out, creates another good chance. And then it was almost like, oh, geez, here we go. Like, it's just, you allow them to kind of get into the game. And the rest of the game, they dominated after that 8 minutes. I mean, completely dominated. But guess what? They got goalied. There was a goalie that was making stops. So I agree with you, Ty. I think it's more important late in games to make saves than early if it's a tight game. And I think just like anybody else, goaltenders sometimes work themselves into a game. But something I'll keep an eye on for sure. Again, the wins for me are most important, and Calvin Pickard gives them a chance to win. This is a team that can outscore some of their problems and some of their deficiencies. And you know what? They don't want to rely on that all the time, but they certainly can. And I think the other night, like 2-0 deficit, you're going, that was a game again where they probably should have had a little bit, but they weren't very good early on. They just weren't good. They just didn't seem to be dialed and connected. Although it wasn't a lot happening in the game, they just didn't seem to have that sharpness. The sharpness to their game wasn't there. And as a result, they were chasing the game again. But once they started to get going, I don't think it was any question who the better team was.
Yeah, just to give you a number there on the getting goalied side of things, there's been 12 games this year, just from my quick little Googling, 12 games this year where they've had 35 or more shots on goal. They've lost in 3 of them, and in all 3 of those losses, they've scored under 4 goals. So again, it doesn't sound like a lot, but in the games where you're putting up 35 shots and really dominating possession, to lose 25% of those games and have under 4 goals in each of them, that does tell you, that they have a tendency to get goalied a little bit.
A little bit, especially early, I find.
Yeah.
It's not a team. Their second periods are best in all year long, and kind of goes along those lines, right? Probably an area they can get a little better at, a little sharper early on, a little more killer instinct, and it would bode them well. But I'd rather a team that gets better as the game goes on than gets worse. And I look at this team, it's the same during the seasons. In the last 5 years, they've gotten better, typically later in the season. This is a team that knows how to ratchet it up. And yeah, I mean, we're nitpicking on all these little things. I know it. This team's been really good, but that's the process, right? You're always trying to make your team better. You're always trying to be a little bit better. Where can you kind of work on things? Where can you get better as far as situational situations in the game? But yeah, that would be one for me, would be early in games, just a little more killer instinct to come out and put a team on their heels and bury a couple and just say, hey, listen, we're the better team early, and this is how it's going to be.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.